Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into Afro-Cuban music,
Oh, I love this topic.
exploring its roots in Abacua, Santeria, and Bantu traditions.
Amazing. Yeah.
We've got some fascinating academic texts to guide us, focusing on the history, rituals, and instruments of these traditions.
Lots to unpack.
Get ready to discover how sacred rhythms, secret societies,
I love the secret society.
and the fusion of African and Catholic beliefs created some of the most vibrant music in the world.
It's such a rich blend of cultures.
That's right. Okay, let's start with Abacua.
Okay.
This one is not a religion, but a male-only secret society.
Fascinating. They're really shrouded in mystery.
Exactly. Where did it all begin?
Their origins can be traced back to the Calabar region of Africa,
Okay.
an area covering the Niger River Delta all the way to Cameroon.
Wow, so a pretty wide expanse.
Yes, and enslaved people from tribes like the Ifuk, and Kwa brought these traditions with them to Cuba.
Interesting.
In Cuba, they became known as Carabolis.
Carabolis. God love those names.
Right, it's like a window into another world.
Now I'm curious about the music they brought with them.
There are actually two distinct categories. First, the sacred instruments used only by priests during rituals.
Sounds intense.
It is. These instruments and their sounds are totally secret, forbidden to outsiders.
Like a hidden sonic world.
Exactly. A tradition passed down through generations.
Wow, so what about the music everyone else gets to hear?
That would be the Biancameco Ensemble.
Nyankamago, okay.
It features public instruments, 4 drums, a bell, rattles, these cool wooden clappers.
Percussion galore.
Right, and it's not just percussion.
No.
They have a talking drum called the Banco and Chemia.
Wait, a talking drum?
Yeah, it acts as the voice of the mysteries.
That's so cool. I can just imagine the stories it could tell.
Seriously. And speaking of stories, we can't forget about Chano Pozo.
Oh, yes. Chano Pozo, the legendary percussionist.
He joined Dizzy Gillespie's band in New York.
Yeah, and brought those Cuban rhythms to a whole new audience.
Yeah. Exactly. And get this, he was an Abacua member himself.
No way?
Yes. He actually incorporated sacred rhythms and Abacua Yoruba chants into his performances.
Talk about bringing ancient traditions to the modern stage.
Absolutely. He played a huge role in introducing these sounds to the world and sparking musical innovation.
Incredible. Okay, now let's shift gears to Santeria.
Santeria, also known as Regla de Ocho,
Right.
the religion of the Lukumi people, descendants of Yoruba slaves.
And it's not just confined to Cuba, right?
Nope. Its origins lie in present-day Nigeria and Benin.
Okay.
While deeply rooted in Cuba, it's actually growing throughout the Americas.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, at the heart of Santeria is the belief in one god, Olorun,
Yeah.
who is the source of Ashe.
Ashe, that's spiritual energy, right?
Yes, the energy that flows through everything, connecting us all.
It's a beautiful concept.
It is. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, tell me more.
Beneath Olorun, there's this whole incredible pantheon of orishas.
Orishas, those are like the deities, right?
Exactly. There are over 400 of them,
Wow, over 400.
each with their own priests and followers.
That's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah. It speaks of the richness and complexity of Yoruba cosmology.
I can only imagine.
But it's important to remember that the Yoruba originally worshipped over 1,000 deities.
Really?
Only the most popular ones, about 20, made it to Cuba.
Interesting. So it's like a distillation of the tradition.
You could say that. And they often became associated with Catholic saints.
As a way to preserve their beliefs, right?
Exactly. It's a fascinating example of cultural adaptation under pressure.
So resilient.
It's truly inspiring.
Okay, let's talk about Chango,
Chango, one of the most beloved orishas.
often linked with Santa Barbara.
That's right. And he's the god of music.
The god of music. Awesome.
His energy is electric, literally.
Literally.
Lukumi legends say he was originally the god of fire, but his dance created lightning,
Wow, what a story.
right? There's even a tale about how he traded his divination tablets for 3 sacred bata drums from his brother, Orula.
For drums.
Yeah. It shows how important these drums were.
Those bata drums must have some serious power.
They do. You know, those Yoruba slaves arrived in Cuba between 1820 and 1840.
That's relatively late, right?
It is. And they brought these incredibly powerful traditions with them.
Traditions that continue to resonate today.
Absolutely. So, besides those bata drums, what other instruments are key to Santeria music?
Good question. Let's see. I know they use bembe drums.
Yes, Bombay drums.
And congas, too.
Of course, congos.
And what about those guiros?
Ah, yes, the gyros. There are actually 3 distinct types.
Yeah.
the cachimba, the muya, and the caja.
Each with its own unique sound and rhythm.
Exactly. Imagine a symphony of percussion weaving together the stories of the Orishas.
It sounds incredible.
It is. Now let's move on to the Bantu influence.
So Bantu.
Their
Okay.
traditions came to Cuba from the Congo and Angola regions of Africa.
Adding another layer of rhythmic complexity to the myth.
For sure, it's not so much a distinct religion as it is a fusion of beliefs, rituals, and music, all mixed in with elements of Catholicism.
Another fascinating example of cultural blending.
Right. Think of it as a vibrant blend of traditions that found a new home in Cuba.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Now, what instruments did the Bantu people bring?
Two key instruments stand out. The yucas drums,
Okay.
they accompany a dance of the same name.
Cool.
And then there are the gomas drums.
Goma's drums. Interesting.
These are considered the ancestors of the modern congas.
Wow. So the congas we hear in so many genres today have roots in Bantu traditions.
Exactly. You can see how interconnected these musical traditions really are.
That's amazing. It's like a hidden history lesson playing out through music.
It is.
Yeah.
You might be hearing centuries-old African rhythms without even realizing it.
It's mind-blowing. So we've covered the secretive rhythms of Abacoa, the complex world of Santeria and its 400-plus orishas, and the lasting influence of the Bantu traditions.
All contributing to a vibrant and multi-layered musical landscape in Cuba.
It's incredible.
And we're just getting started.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore.
Stay tuned, because in the next part, we'll delve even deeper into the fusion of African and Catholic influences.
I can't wait.
And we'll trace the journey of these rhythms beyond the shores of Cuba.
The adventure continues. See it in part 2.
See you there. You know, it's incredible how these musical traditions became a form of resistance for the enslaved Africans in Cuba.
Yeah, they really held on to their cultural identity through music, facing such adversity.
It's amazing, right? Music became a lifeline to connect with their ancestors and keep those traditions alive.
Really speaks to the power of music. And speaking of keeping traditions alive, I'm curious about the role of the Catholic Church.
Ah, yes.
We know they were forced to convert, but how did that actually impact the music?
It's a key part of the story. Remember how we talked about those Orishas being linked to Catholic saints?
Yeah.
That merging of beliefs is called religious syncretism.
Syncretism.
And it allowed them to practice their traditions, under the guise of Catholicism.
So the music itself reflects this blending,
Hmm.
of African and Catholic elements.
Exactly. Take the pata drums used in Santeria ceremony.
Okay.
They're played to call upon those Orishas.
Right.
But the rhythms and chants, they often incorporate elements of Catholic liturgy.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. It's like they created this secret musical language.
It is. It's a coded way to express their beliefs.
You could be dancing to a song and not even realize those deeper layers of meaning woven into the music.
Right. It's a beautiful way to think about it.
I bet there are all sorts of hidden messages embedded in those rhythms.
Oh, absolutely.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
The beauty of music, it transcends language, speaks to the soul.
And in this case, it tells a story of resilience, struggle, and cultural survival.
Powerful story.
But it doesn't end in Cuba, does it?
It does not.
How has Afro-Cuban music influenced other genres, other artists around the world?
Its influence is huge. You can hear it in everything from jazz to salsa to hip-hop.
I was just thinking that. Those rhythms are everywhere.
Like, think about jazz legends. Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker.
Yeah, they were really into those Cuban rhythms.
Incorporated them into their music. And then there's the whole Latin jazz movement.
Oh, yeah, Tito Puente, Machito.
Blending those rhythms with big band arrangements, that's when things exploded.
And even today, you hear Afro-Cuban influences in contemporary music.
All the time.
Artists like Beyoncé and Kendrick Lamar have sampled those rhythms.
Bringing them to a whole new generation.
It's wild to think about. These rhythms born out of struggle and cultural fusion, they've traveled the world.
Inspiring musicians across genres.
Truly shows the power of music to connect us.
Across cultures and continents.
So from those secret societies of Abacoa to the practices of Santeria, the legacy of the Bantu.
Afro-Cuban music is a tapestry woven with threads of history.
And resistance, pure rhythmic energy.
And as we've seen, its influence reaches far beyond Cuba.
Enriching the global musical landscape.
For sure.
Now that we've explored the origins and global impact, I'm curious, what do you think the future holds for these traditions?
Ooh, that's a good question. Will they hold on to their distinct identities or continue to evolve?
Will they blend, transform into new musical expressions?
Fascinating to think about.
Music is constantly changing, adapting.
It is
Who knows what the future holds?
so true.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's one more piece of this puzzle.
Okay.
The world of Palo Monte.
Oh, yes, Palomonte,
Yeah.
shrouded in mystery.
A bit misunderstood, too.
For sure.
It's time to shed some light on this fascinating aspect of Afro-Cuban culture.
Yes, let's do it.
Get ready to journey with us into the heart of Palo Monte.
Uncovering its unique musical expressions.
All right, Palo Monte, this feels like we're entering like a whole new dimension of Afro-Cuban music.
It is. It's not as well known as Santeria or Abacua.
Not as mainstream, but it's just as vital to understanding the full picture, right?
Absolutely. What's really intriguing about Palomonte is this focus on ancestral spirits and the forces of nature,
Oh, wow.
drawing heavily from traditions brought from the Congo Basin region.
So we're talking about connecting with the spirits of ancestors, tapping into like the power of nature.
Exactly.
That's heavy stuff. I can see why it might be shrouded in mystery.
For sure. And unlike Santeria, which has that more structured hierarchy with its orishas,
Right.
Palomonte is really decentralized.
Okay.
So each practitioner, called a palero or palera, cultivates a very unique relationship with the spirits.
So it's much more personalized, like individualized.
Yes, exactly. And that individuality, it extends to the music.
Oh, interesting.
You'll hear that intense drumming and chants in Palomonte ceremonies.
Okay.
But there's a raw, spontaneous energy
Yeah.
that sets it apart.
Like it's almost improvisational.
Yeah, like the music is being channeled directly from the spirits.
That's a great way to put it.
The music is really a way to communicate with the spirits, to call upon their power,
Wow, that's so powerful.
and to seek their guidance.
Okay, so what about the instruments? Are there specific instruments associated with Palamonte?
The goma drum is like central,
The goma drum.
often called the caja in this context.
Okay.
It's a single-headed drum played with the hands,
Right?
and that deep, resonant sound. It's thought to carry messages to the spirit world.
So the ngoma drum is like a direct line to the spirits. Wow.
It is,
Uh-huh.
and it's often joined by bells, shakers, other percussion instruments.
Creating that really rich soundscape.
A layered soundscape, yeah, it's hypnotic and intense.
I'm noticing how music is so vital in all these Afro-Cuban traditions.
It is.
It's like calling upon the orishas in Santeria, connecting with those ancestral spirits in Palamonte.
Expressing the secrets of Abacua.
It's the common thread.
Music is the thread that binds them all together.
It really reminds us that music is so much more than just entertainment.
It is. It's a force for spiritual connection.
Cultural preservation, even social change.
Powerful.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Afro-Cuban music, I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
We have
There's so much more out there to discover.
a whole universe of rhythms, melodies, stories, just waiting to be explored.
If you're feeling inspired, I encourage you to dive in, explore further.
Yes?
Check out some classic recordings by Cuban masters like Silly Cruz, Irakere, Los Van Van.
Oh, great suggestions.
They'll give you a real taste of the richness and diversity of Afro-Cuban music.
For sure. And don't forget about the contemporary artists who are keeping these traditions alive.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like Simafunk, Dame Aracena, Yissy Garcia.
I love them.
They're pushing the boundaries, blending those traditions with other genres.
Creating something fresh and exciting
Absolutely. It's a vibrant musical legacy.
that keeps growing and evolving.
It does.
And remember, music is meant to be shared.
Yes.
So tell your friends about what you've learned, introduce them to these amazing sounds.
Keep those rhythms alive.
Let's keep those musical adventures going.
The power of music transcends borders, languages, even time itself.
Until next time.